Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be checking out another Uncle Dane video. Today's video is called I Main Pyro Now. In the last video we watched one of his newer videos that was called I Main Heavy, and this one came before, and you guys said that this one is just as good. So I'm really excited to watch this one. And thank you so much to everybody who's been liking and commenting, really helping out the channel here, man. You guys are awesome. And with that being said, if you're new, do not forget to hit that sub button, please, and thank you. And let's go ahead and jump into it.
What's up? It's me, Uncle Dane. I Main Pyro Now. Engineers ain't cutting it for me anymore, you know? It's lame and stupid. So I'm just gonna main Pyro. And so, yeah, I'm a Pyro main now. Here's my persona, if you didn't believe me. This is totally real. Don't send any doctors with the lab coats to check on my brain or nothing. Don't pull up to my house and take me in for questioning or nothing like that. Just accept the fact that Uncle Dane is now a Pyro main. And don't don't look at the upload date for this video or nothing like that. So for the past month or so, I
Pokemon music.
Pyro. Like, unironically, I played Pyro for a lot more time than I played other classes, I would guess. Now, why would I go and do a thing like that? For fun, I guess. Yeah, Pyro has always been my least played class for the 10 years that I've played TF2, and it's not that I hate playing Pyro, it's just I've always had a natural aversion to picking him compared to other classes. But why is that? You know, Pyro is considered to be one of the most popular classes in the entire game, so obviously I must be missing something, right? Like, I was having a hard time explaining my own reasoning behind picking Pyro considerably less than any other class, and I felt like I should probably try and find out, you know, for science. So yeah, for about 30 days, I officially mained Pyro. Now, I feel like I should elaborate a little bit on what I mean by main, just so you guys get an idea of what I actually was putting myself through. I main a class in a pretty specific way. It's not that I only ever play engineer each time that I boot up the game. It's mostly just that I prefer to play engineer, right? The way that I pick a class in TF2 is pretty straightforward, though. Like, when I join the server, I look at the class lineup, and I will generally gravitate towards playing whatever I feel like the team is lacking in terms of class roles. But if the class composition of a team is pretty evenly spread, then I'll just pick my main. So I approached this self-imposed challenge with the same mentality that I usually have for picking classes. I just switched out my preference for engineer with a preference for Pyro instead. I certainly did not play Pyro no matter what, and I certainly did not refuse to play any other class than Pyro, because to me, that's just not what maining a class is. So I mained Pyro for a while, expecting to be bored the entire time, but I actually learned a lot. Not only about Pyro, not only about TF2, but about myself and my own biases. I learned more about my own preferences when it comes to gameplay interactions. I squashed a bunch of negative stereotypes I had in my mind for Pyro players and developed a few new ones. But I discovered the play styles that make Pyro, a class that I've always neglected due to my idea of how it's meant to be played, into an actually fun and engaging experience. And gosh darn it, if that isn't exactly what video games are for. Almost right away, I began to doubt that this challenge would end up being any fun, because I happen to get a lot of stuff that I didn't really enjoy.
And let me know in the comments if you like Pyro. Like, is Pyro one of your favorites? He was the one I was playing with the most at first, mainly because it was one of the easiest ones to play with, and, you know, I really enjoyed his character. I love the Meet the Pyro video. Everything about it was just so awesome. Now I think Engineer's probably my favorite, and Soldier, I use those two the most. But I do go back to Pyro every now and then. So let me know in the comments.
Pretty early on, I started out with what I have always observed to be the typical Pyro player's MO. Getting close to people and holding down the mouse button until they eventually die. Yeah, right off the bat, this gave me very little confidence in possibly discovering that I secretly enjoy Pyro. I didn't know how to explain at the time, but the WM1 experience, just kind of running at people and setting them on fire until one of us perishes horribly, that just wasn't clicking for me at all. And that's why I've kind of avoided Pyro. You know, I've always assumed that Pyro was just
I can see that. If you don't want to do that, I can see it.
I know that it's not just that, but sometimes whenever you have an imagination of a class that you don't play very often, you default to what the basic idea of the class is. And I guess WM1, it's kind of funny sometimes. You know, just kind of walking at people with your flamethrower turned on is arguably a pretty dumb strategy, and people dying to dumb strategies is inherently kind of funny. And it honestly does work quite well for causing a lot of chaos. It does get you a lot of kills, and it makes a lot of space in the way that Pyro is designed to do. But very quickly I found myself naturally wanting to do more, and it doesn't take a seasoned veteran to know that Pyro is more than just blinding people with your flames. So, Air Blast! I don't like air blast. I will admit that I like it a little more than I used to now because I do understand the importance of its utility in the overall balance of the game a little bit better. But even after becoming very familiar with air blasting for weeks on end, my opinion on the mechanic largely remains the same. And I'll just go ahead and say it so you guys don't have to for me. I fully acknowledge that a big reason why I don't like air blast is because I'm not good at it. My toxic trait is coping with things I suck at by not respecting them. I know. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. But honestly, looking past all of the times I've missed some of the freest reflects I've ever recorded, I can't help but also acknowledge the perfectly equal amount of times that I managed to reflect a rocket that I didn't even see manifest on screen for a single millisecond, and I get insanely rewarded for it anyway. I'm not going to go all in and say that air blasting does not take a certain amount of skill and timing to get right more often than not, because I'm not saying that. But I will go ahead and point out that even in the hands of someone who is definitely not skilled at reflecting, me? I can still hit some pretty nutty reflects by simply pressing mouse 2 every once in a while with absolutely no rhyme or reason to it. My strategy has always kind of remained the same. When I see an explosive class appear on my screen, I press mouse 2 and about 50% of the time I get insanely rewarded for it. I don't know about you guys, but that feels a little bit less like skill and a little bit more like sheer dumb luck, and I don't really like that. I did try actually timing my air blasts, but most of the time soldiers see what I'm doing and refuse to attack me. You know, awesome. This is a fun interaction. I guess it is better not to fight than to roll the dice on taking a shitload of damage. No. And when you fire a rocket at a pyro, there's also just the chance that your gamble will actually just get some random passerby killed instead of you. Seriously, collateral damage as a result of air blast feels pretty similar to random crits for me. And yeah, dumb strategies working out are pretty funny. And, you know, this does make me laugh. But did I have fun? Not really.
Not really.
This is the main thing that I've learned about myself from this whole experience. The way that I personally have fun in TF2 is less tied to getting frags and more so tied to how I get frags. Like, dopamine is released when I do things like this.
Okay, this is awesome. Totally just gonna pause it here just for a second for copyright issues and all that, but man, this video is so good. I love when he adds in this kind of stuff. The air blast and stuff has been just crazy looking so far. Some of the things people have been zipping around from the air blast is crazy.
And not so much when I do things like this. After every interaction where I succeed or fail, my brain subtly is asking me a genuine question. Did I deserve that? And there are a few things that Pyro can do that I don't feel like I totally deserve. And this realization led me to understand what it is Pyro lacks that has always prevented me from fully enjoying his role. Burst damage. Combo Pyro is so much fun, but again, upon diving into this playstyle, I was already hitting snags. First of all, I don't know what it is about the degreaser, but it just feels really weak to me. Not only does it eat ammo like crazy for air blasting, but the switch speed just doesn't really seem to benefit me as much as I would like it to. But man, I know it's not really that big of a difference, but if it feels like the degreaser does significantly less damage than the stock flamethrower. I don't know why. So honestly, I just never really used it in favor of the stock, even when I was going for combos. The other snag I ran into was, to my absolute disappointment, using the extinguisher. Holy shit, I am very bad at using the extinguisher. I think it's probably the equip speed penalty throwing me off, but I miss the critical melee swings with this thing constantly. It's embarrassing. And even when I do manage to land one, there's often a pretty good chance that I won't even kill them, which means I don't get the speed boost, and they're not even on fire anymore, so I can't follow up with a flare or something. Here's probably the most pathetic attempt I made at pulling off some kind of Anthid level play. Sweater fan!
Sweater fan!
I suck. There are a handful of awesome moments that I've had with the extinguisher, and chasing that dragon is pretty much the only thing that keeps me from unequipping it forever. That and the fact that it's an investment that is definitely bound to pay off when Valve buffs it in Jungle Inferno. But beyond a few clutch moments where I managed to avoid fumbling the execution, the burst damage element is what I'm looking for. And that leads me into what I would consider to be one of the greatest discoveries that I've made. The flare gun is hands down one of my favorite weapons, not just for Pyro, but in the entire game.
Oh,
look,
okay.
I love a good shotgun. You know me, I'm all about those meat shots and everything, but if the engineer could use the flare gun, I would never unequip it. Because no joke, this thing is so much fun to use, and I don't even understand how I could have ever not realized this. I have 10,000 hours in the game, and I just recently discovered how fun the flare gun is. It's such a straightforward and simple gimmick. If you hit someone who is on fire with a flare, they eat 90 damage, and if that doesn't kill them, the full length afterburn will. It sounds overpowered as shit, but the flare gun actually takes a lot of getting used to in order to use effectively. Dare I say it takes skill?
Oh,
Amazing. There are a couple of other side grades to the flare gun that have their uses, but both of them sacrifice the sheer amount of burst damage that you can do to someone by simply hitting them with a flare twice in a row, because light classes pretty much die instantly if you can double tap them with a flare, and I've gotten pretty decent at doing this at medium ranges. But there are many instances where you can just burst down a healthier class pretty effectively with just the flare gun, and it's extremely satisfying. I feel like before I tried maining Pyro, I was pretty much open to using whatever secondary seemed fun to me at the time, mostly sticking with a shotgun or panic attack because I already was pretty familiar with using them. But now, even though I'm not a permanent Pyro main, I am definitely a permanent flare gun main because this shit is straight up addictive, man. Now, before we move on, I kind of want to take a moment to address the elephant in the room real fast. I am an engineer main. I'll always be an engineer main. This video's title is officially an April Fool's prank. Gotcha. You know, despite the experiment being 100% real. So I realized that people might assume that the natural transition from engineer to
I was wondering because in the last video he did mention something like that, and I was like, okay, I didn't understand, but now I get it.
That I'm going to equip the home wrecker and become the greatest Pybro alive, right? No, just no.
Just no.
Babysitting players, especially engineers, is boring. It's really boring. Maybe some people like it, and hey, as an engineer player, I always appreciate when my buildings get unsapped for me, or when my teammates spy check, but being on the other end of it, it's not my thing. First of all, because it's boring, yeah. Second of all, because engineers don't really need to be babysit full-time by any player. Take it from me, I would much rather my team's Pyro go to the front line and kill the soldiers and demomen before they ever reach my nest, than have them hanging around and accidentally picking up ammo kits and killing spies that I could have just killed myself. And I'm not saying that it's not appreciated. I'm just saying that you could be doing more for me and the entire team and probably having more fun doing it. The home wrecker though, I figured I'd give it a genuine shot as a utility equip just to see if I could manage to work it into my more aggressive playstyle naturally. And what do you know, sometimes I got to unsap some buildings from time to time, but
sometimes.
other than that, I don't know. It's no surprise to anybody who's played TF2 that the power jack is infinitely superior to every other Pyro melee when it comes to utility, and honestly, destroying buildings with the home wrecker feels a little pointless when you can just burn them down just as easily. I tried to make the home wrecker work to represent my engineering roots, but insta-killing a dispenser isn't all that satisfying to begin with. It's nice to have a loadout with the home wrecker on hand just in case you see a sap teleporter at spawn, but as a full-time melee utility, I was sad to discover that it's pretty much useless, especially when compared to the power jack or even the extinguisher. But you might have caught on by now, after watching these clips and hearing about my affection for burst damage in general, that my character arc of coming around on Pyro wasn't due to extinguisher combos or long-range flare gun crits. My one true love is the Dragon's Fury. This baby has it all, man. This is exactly the kind of Pyro I like to play. The burst damage, first of all, is just bonkers. It's basically the direct hit with an infinite clip. I mean, once you start thinking of it less like a flamethrower and more like a rocket launcher, I feel like it really clicks. It works very similarly to the flare gun as well. If you hit someone who is not on fire, you do 25 damage and set them on fire for a few seconds. And then if you hit someone who's already on fire, you do 75 damage. You can fire
I've yet to use this.
After you connect your shot.
I've yet to use this. Maybe I should be. And if you guys want to see me like make a video of me using it for the first time, just let me know in the comments down below.
And then your fire rate is decreased if you miss. So the Dragon's Fury not only gives me everything that I want out of the core gameplay of TF2, but it rewards me for doing well and punishes me for doing bad, which instantly answers that whole did I deserve that question, because if I whiff all my shots and die horribly because I'm terrible at this video game, then yeah, I deserve that. If I land all my shots on an overhealed heavy and melt them into dust in 2 seconds flat, then hell yeah, I deserve that. Because you're rewarded with faster firing speed by hitting, and you're punished with slower firing speed by missing, it feels like you're supposed to get good with this weapon on a uniquely visceral level, very similar to the Widowmaker actually. And that's only the basis of what makes this gun so fun for me. A big one, projectile penetration. The fireball does not get blocked by players, so while this gun is most ideal for 1v1 matchups, it also excels in groups where enemies are extremely close together, even behind each other. It even penetrates buildings, which makes dealing with turtling engineers so much fun because you can literally hit both the NG and his sentry gun for 75 damage at the
Dang.
same time. And yeah, it does 75 damage to buildings because buildings can't be set on fire, so its bonus is just automatically applied, I guess. Now, I don't think that the Dragon's Fury is all that much faster at killing buildings than the stock flamethrower. I've never tested it, but it seems like the DPS is pretty similar in practice. Because the Dragon's Fury can penetrate through targets and burst damage is generally harder to out-heal with a wrench compared to sustained fire, I feel like the Dragon's Fury is just overall more effective at taking out turtling NG nests than any of Pyro's weapons, including the Homewrecker. So step aside, Demo Man. Pyro is the sleeper sentry buster that medics never knew they had, and I honestly never knew that it would be so much fun. And did I mention the range on this thing? I mean, like, it almost kind of seems like it's unintended how far away you can hit people with this thing, right? I can easily stay outside of any other flamethrower's effective range while dishing out full damage. Seriously, who needs the shotgun for Pyro mirror matches when you can just blast them with a fireball from 20 meters away? I fucking love this thing, and I can confidently say that if the Dragon's Fury didn't exist, I probably would just be going for simple flare punches and call it a day with Pyro. That's not to say that it doesn't have its downsides, mainly in that the fire rate cooldown is activated ×2 on air blast because I guess it considers it a miss. I would be okay with this stat if successfully air blasting, whether you hit a reflect or extinguish someone, counted as a hit and at least prevented the fire rate cooldown. But no, if you air blast with the Dragon's Fury, you straight up disable your weapon for like 2 seconds, making it kind of risky to air blast someone in the middle of a fight. Now, conceptually, I like this idea because it significantly cuts down on the air blast spam that makes air blast an unfun mechanic for me, but it doesn't follow that same risk-reward line of thinking that shooting the fireball does, and that kind of confuses me. Like, shouldn't I be able to use my weapon again if I successfully air blast something? I like being punished for failing, but I don't like being punished for succeeding. Like, it seems weird. And to be clear, this is a pretty minor nitpick. It's pretty easy to use as far as like supporting air blasting goes, which I feel is a little bit more important overall for me. And in a lot of circumstances, I find that I only ever really need to air blast once in order to do whatever I wanted to do. But other than that small anomaly, I definitely would consider the Dragon's Fury to be a close second to the flare gun when it comes to my favorite pyro weapons. It's just awesome, and if you are anything like me when it comes to burst fire and TF2, please give this thing a shot for a while. It genuinely is an underrated weapon.
Dude, I love the Pokemon music.
After a full month, I settled on a playstyle that I genuinely enjoy when playing Pyro, and it looks like this. Burst damage. Yeah. At longer ranges, I use the flare gun to go for double flares and secure some sweet crit kills. And at close range, I blast them with fireballs until they fall over. If they try and run away, I go for a flare. If they don't see me before I approach, I hit them with a flare first so I can start doing triple damage with the Dragon's Fury right away. And sometimes for fun, I go for the clutch flare combo before the 3-second afterburn runs out for the Dragon's Fury. And
nice,
the power jack
very
is my
nice.
go-to melee unless my team doesn't have a medic or my medic never heals me. But honestly, I pretty
medic
often
never
forget
heals
to
me.
switch to the rake when it would have come in handy. The power jack is just overall amazing though. This loadout was only ever truly bad in a few very specific circumstances, mainly when dealing with swimmers. Without a shotgun, water is definitely my main weakness, and this fucking stupid sniper thing that just disables my class entirely, that's gotta go. Turn that off, get that out of the game, delete it. The Dragon's Fury is also not super ideal for spy checking due to how quickly the afterburn expires.
I can see
on
that,
spies,
yeah.
But honestly, I don't know, I don't really care that much. You know, spies, I'll let you get away. Go and stab that sniper with the Darwin's on for me. The only time I ever switched off of this burst damage playstyle in the final weeks of maining Pyro was when I was dealing with an insurmountable volume of sheer projectile spam in some choke that was impossible to keep up with using the Dragon's Fury. So occasionally I'd switch to the stock. But in general, this is what I've settled on. This is what fun Pyro is for Uncle Dane. But yeah, maining Pyro for a month was seriously a lot more fun, interesting, and eye-opening for me than I expected it to be. I went into the challenge without even expecting to make a video about it because I figured nothing worthwhile would even happen besides just confirming that I don't really like Pyro all that much. But I was pleasantly surprised. I still greatly prefer playing Engineer personally, but I can now officially say that I actually like playing Pyro now. I'm sorry if I disappointed you in this video by not talking about every Pyro playstyle or weapon. You can just go ahead and assume that if I didn't talk about a certain unlock, it's because I barely use it and I don't have really anything to say about it, or it falls under the category of I don't deserve this. I'm looking at you, Scorch Shot. But if there's a takeaway you can get from watching this though, it's that you should give your least played class another chance, you know? Try and play it in a way that you think you would enjoy instead of falling into that trap of just running through the motions of what you think is expected of you when you're playing it. That's the line of thinking that I had when I started playing Engineer, and lo and behold, he's my favorite class now because of it. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I will talk to you nieces and nephews next time.
Oh man,
Bye-bye.
another great episode, dude. All right, man, that was I Main Pyro by Uncle Dane. As always, I'll be sure to put the original video link down below if you want to go check it out for yourself. And please do, man, go support his channel. He's just awesome. One of the best TF2 creators out there. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit a like. It really helps out the channel here. If there's anything else you want to see me react to, you're more than welcome to comment down below, and I'll be sure to put it on the list to make. So that's all I got for you. I will see you in the next video. And do not forget, man, it's Orc Army for life.